So, Jordan, I'm really psyched to be sitting here with you watching the trailer, going through frame by frame, because there's just so many cool visuals in it. It's going to be great to get your feedback and your take on this stuff.
I'm actually excited to see it frame by frame, too, because seeing it on the big screen, it goes by so fast.
Yeah. Well, let's go and kind of stop on our first moment here, and I'm going to make it this scene right here, our shot of our hero shot. And that's Jake Gyllenhaal. Boom.
That's Jake Gyllenhaal as Prince Dastan, who is, of course, the Prince of Persia.
And what's cool is this just gives us a quick shot of how buffed up he got for the role, but also the action that we're going to see him undertake in the film. I'm also going to go back to another really cool moment that we see right at the beginning, and that's the actual dagger itself.
The dagger of time.
Yeah, and we've got another really cool shot of it up here, too. Right here. So tell me a little bit about the first time you saw the actual physical prop here.
Yeah, well, obviously I was really familiar with the Dagger of Time, like from the PlayStation 2 version, but it was one of the really cool moments for me was meeting Jake in character, in costume, on set, and seeing that he had this Dagger of Time in his belt. So I was like, excuse me, is that? He's like, yeah, you want to hold it? So actually holding the physical dagger, in my hand and feeling like how heavy it was and how well made, it was really cool.
And did it work? Did it actually turn back time when you pressed the jewel?
Oh yeah, I tried it out a few times. It totally works.
All right, well, let's go back to this moment, which is, boom, the first time we see it, the dagger itself work in the trailer.
Yeah, there's the first time that Dastan really discovers that this dagger can turn back time if you press the jewel on its handle.
What it just visually looks awesome, and it must have been a nightmare for the visual effects guys to do because of all the sand. How much input did you have into the actual look of what this effect should play out like?
In shooting the movie, we didn't really know yet what the rewind would look like, but we knew we wanted to go far beyond what the rewind was in the game, which was obviously to the limits of what the PlayStation 2 could do.
Right.
But really, Jerry and Mike Newell, and the visual effects guys have kind of like been adding to this, adding layers, so it just keeps getting better and better. This actually is not final.
I can't believe that. It looks so cool already.
Yeah. Well, you can see, some of the layers. There's this sand effect of the sand is kind of flowing through the prince's arm into his body. And another thing, I'm not sure if you can see it here. There's kind of a ghost image of Dastan standing outside of the action. So as the action is rewinding, he's kind of watching himself go back in time. Yes, and that was sort of meant to convey to the audience that the person who holds the dagger, who turns back time, is actually aware of what's happening, and so knows what this alternative future was that they're avoiding, whereas everybody else has no idea.
I don't want to stop on this moment too long, but I am gonna stop right here because it looks like he's about to be stabbed in the head by a ginormous sword.
Exactly, that's what he avoids by pressing. Yeah.
And that looks like Gemma who's gonna do it. Is that true? And if it is, why is she gonna do that?
It does look like Gemma, doesn't it? I can't confirm or deny. You just have to see the movie.
All right, fair enough. Let's look at some more actors participating in the film, and we've got right here
Alfred Molina as Sheikh Omar. He's a great character. He's that sort of colorful character that you always have in a action adventure epic. Where he sort of brings comic relief and his own sort of skewed perspective every time he's on screen.
Yeah.
It's fun. And for me, of course, it's really cool that it's Alfred Molina because you remember Raiders of the Lost Ark, the first 10 minutes?
Yep.
Well, that was the sequence that really inspired me to make the first Prince of Persia game back in the 80s. Pretty much all the Prince's movements, jumping over a pit, grabbing onto the edge, pulling himself up, spikes springing out, the gate closing, all come from that opening sequence of Raiders. And do you remember who the guide was?
It was, Alfred Molina, yeah. And it's funny because I didn't remember that until you just forced me to think about it.
Throw me the idol, I throw you the whip.
That's right. Well, let's scrub back to this moment right here, and I'm going to try and freeze on it right there. I don't know why I'm geeking out over this whip, but it just looks so cool, and to me it looks reminiscent of something from the later games.
Yeah, it's got a kind of a warrior within feel to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it just goes to show us some of the really cool weaponry we're going to see in the film. I'm actually going to scrub forward to another really cool moment right here. Boom, look at those weapons.
Yeah, now these enemies are Hassansins, and they're not actually in any of the games. There you see all of them, riding together. Each one of them has their own characteristic weapons. One uses fire, another one uses snakes, another one uses blades.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, well, let's go back here to another.
By the way, this is the prince's older brother, Tos.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, he's, and this kind of reflects too that for the movie we had to kind of create a more specific character for Prince Dastan. In the games, he's always been nameless, which is great for a game because you can project yourself into the character. But here, you meet his father and his brothers, and so for the first time, the prince has a name, Prince Dastan.
Cool. Okay.
It's actually an old Persian word that means trickster.
I did not know that. How appropriate.
Yeah, very appropriate. The prince really has always been, in terms of mythological archetypes, the prince is a trickster hero. Like Indiana Jones, like Errol Flynn, Doug Fairbanks as Robin Hood and Zorro. So it was hard to come up with the right name, for a character that I've, that I know so well, for so many years.
Right.
It was hard to come up with a lot of names. Just didn't feel like it was him. But when I came across Dastan, in the Shahnameh, the old Persian Book of Kings,
you were like, that's it.
That's the name.
Cool. Well, let's go back to this person right here, another big actor. We've got
Sir Ben Kingsley.
And who's he playing in the film?
He plays Nizam, the king's brother, or the prince's uncle.
Okay. And so from some of the action we see in the trailer and the one-sheets we've seen of him, he looks kind of like a bad guy. Is he the major villain in the film?
He does kind of look evil, doesn't he? He's not evil in his own mind.
Okay. We'll leave it at that then. Go see the movie, right? And here, of course, we have Gemma.
Gemma Arterton plays Tamina. And this is the character that's really based on Princess Farah.
Okay.
In the game, The Sands of Time. I changed the name partly as a way to let gamers know that this wouldn't be exactly the same story as the game, but she is very much inspired by Farah, and she's sort of in the same situation, kind of plays the same role in the story.
Okay, great. And was that important to you that the film be a little different than the game, or did you want it to follow the game as closely as possible?
No, I never wanted to do a movie that would retell the story of Sands of Time, the game, as a movie. I mean, to me, Sands of Time is a story that I wrote to be played, and I think it works perfectly in the game. But with the movie, we had a chance to do something different, and so it's got a lot of the same elements as the game, the same characters, situations. I mean, if you played the game, you'll definitely recognize a lot of the story, but it is a different story.
Okay.
And that's what we set out to do.
Well, I'm going to go back to another Gemma moment right here and just say, wow. I think that's all that needs to be said right there. Jordan's nodding his head, yes.
Yeah, there were a lot of people saying wow in the desert on that particular day.
And this shot up here is kind of cool. It gives us a sense of the scope. You were on set that day, right?
This was shot in Ouarzazate in the desert of Morocco. And yeah, I think this was the first day that I really realized the scope of this production. I mean, it's a 40-minute drive to the set from Ouarzazate, and when I got there and I saw these hundreds of extras lined up with camels and horses on the ridge, these crazy costumes and basically a whole tent city, and to support them, I realized that this, it's so far beyond what people imagine or expect a video game movie to be. I mean, this is like a real epic, it's like Lawrence of Arabia.
Wow. I'm going to go back to this moment too, because this to me, I mean, again, I haven't seen the film, but it looks like it's most likely one of the major set pieces of the film, this whole kind of collapse of this temple. And it's just crazy, the action that's going on.
Yeah, again, this is really inspired by the action of the games, Sands of Time and the old game as well, but goes so far beyond it, in terms of like the visceral impact of what's happening on screen. That
was a really cool backflip, by the way. I'm just going to play that out again. So here's another great kind of shot of the sand effect of, time. And I think this gives us a sense of what you were talking about, being outside of your body and seeing what's happening.
Yeah, you can see that really clearly here.
So weapons, action, and time travel, it pretty much has it all.
Yeah, and a love story and kind of this broad epic canvas that I think it captures the action of the video game, but also goes beyond it in a lot of ways.
Fantastic. Well, I guess we'll see it play out in theaters on May 28th. Thanks so much for coming down, Jordan. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. It's been fun.